This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of Make It Happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I'm joined by my co-host Joshua Ryan Rusin, the community director of Jake Gino. Josh, how are you doing today?
Gino, doing well, man. I'm super excited that you're reporting live from the Stenziano studios in Tennessee here. How are you doing?
I'm in Jake's lair right now, so it's a little surreal. I got the kids out there screaming, so if you hear some background, I can't control the tribe out there. But today's guest is going to be an exciting show for me because we're just offline talking about core values, talking about Teslas, talking just about really cool stuff, right? And just talking about growing and really not talking about BS. If you're going to have core values, live up to those core values. Don't make them just the bullet points. And he hit me hard with it, Josh, because I had that 10 years ago in the restaurant. I didn't have core values. I had some bullet points up there, and I was attracting not what I wanted, what I was. And, the realization at 9:30 in the morning that, wow, that's where I was 10 years ago, but we all have the ability to grow and the ability to learn. And that's what life is all about. It's all about growing. Good things come to those who work. I want everyone to write that down because to me, it's important. The harder you work, the more you're going to learn, the more mistakes you're going to make, the more you're going to get out of your comfort zone. But that's what life's all about. It's all about growing and learning and making those mistakes and learning from those mistakes.
Love that. Yeah, I agree. The harder you work, the luckier you get. But speaking of today's guest, we have Travis Gibson. So Travis is the founder of Freeman Equity Group, which helps investors achieve their financial goals using commercial real estate. He actively manages over $15 million in assets. Coming from a background in software engineering, he has a wealth of experience in defining projects requirements and managing development teams for Fortune 500 companies such as EDS, ECMC, and Apple. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Travis.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, doing well, Travis. All right, so I want to get a little bit into you, your story. Obviously, you're living in NorCal now, but you didn't start there. Where did you grow up? How did you get into what you're doing with Apple currently? And give me the whole spiel.
Oh wow, okay. Well, we'll take it way back. I'm originally from a small town called Saginaw, Michigan. This is like the literally the web of the mitten in Michigan. Spent half of my childhood there, my formative years. And when the GM plant started closing down in the late 70s, I'm dating myself. I know I don't look it, but I'm getting up there. We actually moved out to California and started a whole new life, right? We moved to Sacramento, and my parents from there opened a nightclub and, kind of went through the process that way, and also invested in single family properties, by the way, which we'll talk about in a second. So I ended up going to college. I went to Georgia Tech and DeVry, and eventually got my degree, got out, and joined corporate America as a software engineer. So I've been doing software engineering since '92. So it's been a while.
Wow.
And I've worked for a litany of different companies through the years, and finally landing on Apple. I've been there for the past 7 years.
Wow. So what attracted you to multifamily?
That's a great question. I've been in the Sacramento area for over 20 years. And since my parents always self-managed, I self-managed as well, right? Mm-hmm. So it was fine when I had one, and eventually I got to, I had 10, and I ended up paring back down to 5. And one day I was just running the numbers, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I have all of this equity tied up, but my cash on cash it's horrible. Mm-hmm. And plus I'm on the hook for doing all of the work. I'm constantly getting calls. I had to put a new roof on last year. I had two different properties. I had to put new AC units in, and those calls are always coming at the worst possible time. And any of those repairs, wiped out my returns for the year and on those properties. So then I heard about multifamily, right? Where I could actually invest this equity in an asset, have a professional management company provide the management, and I could see the return. So initially, I looked at it from the LP or limited partner perspective. It was only later when I was like, okay, this is actually a business that people do. That's when I started really getting interested on being an operator, or at least GP on deals.
So I love that that the problems you're experiencing before, and then what were some of the problems that were solved once you joined the Jake and Gino community? What did it look like? What did you really learn
okay.
and take away?
I'll tell you. I had I started developing a decent base of knowledge, of general knowledge around multifamily, just from reading books and looking at videos. But it wasn't until I was able to kind of engage with the community, and specifically, wheelbarrow profits, and actually going through step by step the buy right, the finance right, the manage right, getting those steps kind of broken down for me, filled in a bunch of the holes and made me comfortable with not only allocating my own capital into deals, but bringing in investors and family and friends into deals as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if I'm hearing you correctly, that's really powerful. So you were empowered with knowledge that gave you the confidence to go out there and implement, so much so that you felt comfortable taking other people's money and helping be a shepherd of their investments as well.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
And the other thing was the community. The Facebook group is amazing. Let me just say that. I'm not trying to, sales pitch for you guys, but that's the one thing that really stood out to me, was how helpful everybody was. Like, when I didn't know anything, I mean, there were folks from the community that would, get on the line with me and just talk to me about what they're doing. And I know, and the reason I know this now is because I talk to people like that, right? Where I realized, I'm like, wow, did I sound that stupid? I mean, not that they're stupid, but did I sound that ignorant? Let me restate that. Did I sound that ignorant when I was talking to them? And I know I did, because they're asking a lot of the same questions that I was asking. But it's one of those things, right? When you get, you got to give. So, and that was the one thing that the community definitely had in spades that I really appreciated.
Hey, Travis, don't worry. I sound like that every day to Josh. So he's used to me here saying that. I tell him some crazy stuff. He's like, really? We're going to do that now? I'm like, yep. Lock and load, baby. You know what I'm saying? Nice. So I love that. And for me, there's two words that I really want to dive into with you right now. And you'd mentioned before, core values. And I'll give you my definition. And I think that's one of the main reasons why people want to help in the community. Our core values, two of them are people first and growth mindset. Those are the two that lead up to me. And how does a growth mindset look? Fixed mindset is, I don't need the community. I don't need the Facebook. I don't need the training videos. I can do it on my own. And when that happens and you get stuck, you quit with the fixed mindset. But the growth mindset says, I'm going to commit and figure it out. And Josh loves this. Done is better than perfect, right?
100%.
That's how we look at it. So for me, the core values we're transformational, because we want to live by those core values. We want to have our students be in that safe space and say, hey, what does DSCR mean? What does it mean? I've never heard of it before. Because if you're coming from the single family space, you may not know that. So it's just all about sharing and about, like you said, the go-giver mentality. What do core values mean to you? And define what your core values are.
Sure. Like we were talking about kind of before the call, at Apple, specifically in my organization, we have a set, right? And honestly, I've adopted those as kind of my core values, my core operating system. Mm-hmm. We have 5, but there's obviously more, but it's trust, service, teamwork, humility, and innovation. Those are the 5. Those are the big 5. And what that means is I have trust first, because without trust, none of this works. If I can't trust the people that I'm working with, then we can't have teamwork. It's very hard for me to be of service to you. It's very hard for me to be humble when I don't trust that you're not going to try to take advantage of my humility. And then innovation is something that I'm always striving for, right? I always want to be better. I always want to define better processes as I go along. So those are our core values. And what they mean to me is I was actually giving a presentation at Apple, and I was talking about core values. And, initially I felt kind of corny about it. I'm like, core values. But the thing that I realized is you can't fake core values. You either have them or you don't. Because ultimately, the people that adhere to those values are going to see whether or not you're genuine or not. That's going to come through. And furthermore, you can't have those core values at work and be a complete a-hole at home. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like these values force you to be a consistently better person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm striving for.
I love that.
Travis, I have a question for you. So you'd mentioned before the call that there's some companies that have core values, but they're lip service, right? They're nothing more than words on the wall. What would you say is something that a company does well to be able to integrate those, right, and attract talent that lives those core values?
Okay. First of all, there has to be a consistent buy-in from leadership. Now, I've been other places where they've expected subordinates to adhere to core values, but they really don't. Your actions are what dictate the whether or not those values are actually going to be instilled in your organization. So if you as a leader, if you do things that are disloyal or untrustworthy, if you throw your team or your subordinates under the bus when something goes wrong, you're really not exhibiting the core values that you claim to adhere to.
Yeah, so that's really important for everyone who to reiterate that, do as you say and make sure you're living the words true. Especially if you want people to follow, right? They learn by your example, not by your words.
Yeah.
So I want to mention, I challenge everybody out there. If you don't have core values and you don't like the word core values, adopt Travis's saying, core operating system. What is your COS? And, Jake used to work for Glaxo and he would think it was poo-poo. And now we can't live without them because this is how we hire and we fire. And Josh is laughing while you're talking about this because he's like, okay, Gino, what's the next project? Because it's all about extreme ownership and making it happen. So he's like already worrying what's coming next. But you know what? I'm there right behind him because I'm doing the work. I'm packing the books when we ship it out. I'm always online and I have to live those core values and I have to make it happen. We're quote unquote on vacation. We're on this podcast right now. There is no excuse for not doing this right now. I learned about this podcast 10 minutes before it came on. Now, I could have been one of those grumpy, employers 10 years ago and said, I can't believe, but no, we just own it. It's extreme ownership. We have to make it happen. That's what our core values abide by. And everybody, it's important when you run a business. Multifamily is a business. This is what we're trying to create because we're trying to create systems and we're trying to create scalability and get out of the rat race of doing one single family home here and one single family home there and try to create that whole economies of scale. Do you agree with that, Travis?
Absolutely. 100%.
Travis, I have one more question for you before we dive back into kind of real estate and everything like that. Before we started recording, you and I had connected about, you had connected with a lot of groups, right? Vetting, screening, things like that. And what made you realize that this was the place where you wanted to align forces and work with us through the Wheelbarrow Profits Academy?
It was a combination of things. I went out, of course, and looked at the website and saw the content that was out there, was impressed by that. But more importantly, it was our conversations, right? I personally, I go with my gut, and I feel like I got a pretty good BS meter at this point. I've been kicking around for a few years. So the thing about it is in our conversations, you spoke about the service that you could provide, not necessarily regardless. It seemed like regardless of or not to whether I joined or not, you were willing to provide a service to me. You were willing to talk to me, to answer my questions. And that went a long way for me, honestly. And like I said, more importantly, I could feel the core values that you and Jake and Gino operated under. And that's what made me ultimately, as I talked about earlier, trust, right? That first core value, that's what made me trust you. And the thing about it is I feel like and trust are peanut butter and jelly, right? Think about somebody that you trust that you don't like. I don't know of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So like that. Those things go together.
Wow, that's good. All right. So Gino, anything on that before we take it back to real estate?
Yeah, Josh, I would like to say I'm Italian, so I would like to say prosciutto and fresh mozzarella for me. I mean, the peanut butter and jelly, my mom never made it to me. When I got married, 28 years old, that's the first time I had peanut butter and jelly. And I'm like, I missed that all my life. I had to get married to have PB&J. And that is, put some bananas in there, bro. They were really rocking it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I didn't know
sir.
that. I was sheltered. I was having fresh mozzarella. I was having focaccia sandwiches.
Oh,
But you know what?
poor
It's
you.
okay. I like PB&J. Josh, rocking. I'm still thinking about the food, so go ahead.
Yeah. And one thing too, when you truly live and exude those core values, then you attract that as talent for employees. You attract that, like we have high level people like Travis in the community as a community member, right? And so that's the true definition of embodying it. What you put out, you get back. So I just wanted to hit on that. All right. So Travis, I got a couple questions for you. You started with single families. Your parents did nightclubs and single family homes. Why'd you skip the nightclub business? Why didn't you get into that at all?
Ooh, that's a really good question. My father actually wanted me to take over the business, but because I had kind of lived that business, I saw the hours that my parents worked. One, which they're nightclub hours. So even here in Sacramento, you're starting your evening at, I don't know, 6:37, coming home like 3 a.m, day after day after day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any problems with folks that like to drink, and it's fine. But I could see the problems that they had to constantly deal with because of it, and I didn't want any part of that. So, but it's a good business.
So
I mean,
Josh,
not now, but
I have to speak of that real quick, because what Travis did is he actually took responsibility for his life and his actions. He didn't let life happen to him. He could have chose that, right? And
yeah,
I chose the restaurant because my parents did it, and I chose it, right? And ultimately, back in 2007, when my dad passed away, I had the realization that I was not living my dream. I was building and working upon his dream, which was great, and I loved working with him. And I would never take that away, because that made me the person that I am right now. But making that realization, everybody out there, I challenge you: are you building your dream? Are you building somebody else's dream? That's what it comes down to. And Travis didn't work in that business. And why? He didn't like to hang out with that. I don't want to call it an element, but he wanted to be around a different element of people, right? He didn't want to be around alcohol. He didn't want his family around him. There's nothing wrong with that. We can make that choice. And ultimately, I made the choice of not being on the restaurant because I didn't want to work those hours also. I didn't want to work on the holidays. I don't want to work on the weekends. And that's what ultimately empowered me. So it's about clarity, everybody. That's really important. Become crystal clear on it. Figure out what you're doing and start building your own dream. It's time to start taking responsibility and building your own dream. I love that. Let's talk about the first deal. How did you find that first deal? And, what did you like about it?
Okay. Let me give you a little bit of background. One of the things that I'd started doing as part of this whole process was start looking for target markets and, going through LoopNet, doing everything that everybody does. So I found this first deal off of LoopNet. Nah, just kidding. Nobody finds anything off of LoopNet. Okay, stop it. After looking at about 200 listings. Okay, so anyway, what happened is here at Apple, we have, there's clubs, there's investment clubs, there's real estate club. And I attended one of the sessions, and there was a guy there who actually was doing multifamily. So he was doing a presentation. So obviously he's there looking for investors, right? But it all kind of worked out. So after he finished, I started talking to him, right? And initially he's talking to me like an LP, which is fine, right? And I'm like, no. I want to actually do a deal. I don't want to just invest in the deal. I mean, I don't mind investing in the deal also, but I actually want to do a deal. So he was good enough to kind of bring me in and say, okay, you know what? I have these deals. Which one of them are you interested in? So the first deal was Grocer's Warehouse in Kansas City. And we can talk about why and everything in a second. But when I looked at, first of all, the building's beautiful. One, it wasn't strictly multifamily, but I could see the value in it immediately. So from there, what we started doing is we started kind of building out the team for actually closing out that deal. And we started separating the tasks accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we found, and we can dig into that deal in a second. But that's how I found that deal, though. It was through networking. It was through actually talking to someone. That's the one thing I want to point out. If whoever watches this, if you don't get anything out of this, your net worth is your net worth. So if you are not comfortable making connections, you're going to have some problems. You got to be willing to reach out and talk to people.
So I want to expand on that. I'm an introvert myself. I don't like to expand out, but I can change my map. I can choose to go out and network and get out of my comfort zone. We all have that choice. If you say I'm an introvert, that's what you are. If you say I have no time, that's what you have, right? So I want everyone out there, you can do some NLP training, neuro-linguistic programming training on your mind. Really, it's the map. It's a representation of what you are. It's the reality that you're presented with. All of a sudden, I can get on stage in front of 500 people. Am I comfortable? No, but I can do it, and I can do it well. And it's all about repetitions. It's all about reps. A couple things on networking. When you're going out there, set an expectation of what you want to get out of the networking. Set clear goals of what you want. And don't go for it all at once. Take it slow. Go to a meetup, meet one or two people, and have that discussion. I think that's what you should do in networking. And it's, Travis is spot on. Your net worth is equal to your net work. The more people you know, the more people you can help, it's reciprocatable. It's how you reciprocate. And that's why the Jake and Gino community, as we grow larger and larger, there's more people in there. There's more people that you help, and it just goes around and around and around. And Travis, one more thing. Don't be afraid to tell everybody what you do. Let everybody know what you do, because you never know who you will meet. And as you get more and more comfortable, you'll start talking to family members, and then you'll know that you've hit pay dirt is when they start asking you, well, what do you do? And can I get some more information? And that's when you've got to be prepared. That's when you've got to go through all the trainings and know all of your steps and know all about syndication. So it's an exciting journey. You're drinking from a fire hose in the beginning. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of information, but I will guarantee you, as you start building muscle and you start getting better, it'll become more comfortable to you. So does that make sense, Travis?
Absolutely. Yep.
Would you like to add anything to that? I'm sure you've got a lot to add to that.
Yeah. What I'll say is this also, you have to provide value, right? So, and it's not necessarily up to the person that you're networking with to decide what value you bring. We all have talents. So you have to figure out what it is that you can bring to any situation and offer that, right? In this particular situation with the first deal in Kansas City, I knew, my underwriting is fairly decent. I've done enough of it over the past 6 months, right? So when we were in due diligence, I poured through all the documentation, went through the rent rolls, went through the leases, but that's what I offered to bring to the, to my part of the deal, right? That, and of course, money, sponsorship, all of that. But figuring out what it is that you have to offer is ultimately on you, not on who you're asking for help from.
That's so huge, Josh, because when you're out there partnering with others, what is the value with you? You're not just partnering with somebody, say, hey, I've got a partner. You need to bring value to that partner, and that partner needs to bring value to you. Set expectations on the front end, right? What are we each going to do, and have a clear roadmap? That's really important. I love that. Guys, let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors, and we'll talk about the deal on the other side.
Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply.
Okay, so Travis, I got a few short answer questions for you, and I also want to dive into that deal. So let's dive into the deal first. Let's cover a little bit about that. Give us some of the nuts and bolts, what you liked about it, the upside, why you guys purchased it, why the market.
Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about the market first. Kansas City kind of came out of nowhere. Like I had been looking in, San Antonio, Phoenix, even Reno, Atlanta, but it checked off a lot of items for me. One, I felt like Florida and Georgia was too far for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I came out to the boot camp back in 2019, late 2019, it was like October, November. That flight wasn't comfortable. Like I realized that anytime I was going out there, I was going to have to go out there for at least 2 days.
Yes.
Like there was no way around it. So that made me a little uncomfortable. And then, like I said, once I spoke with the gentleman who ultimately ended up being one of my partners on this deal, and he started telling me about Kansas City. I started doing research, and I'm like, oh wow, okay. I never realized that the quote unquote Silicon Prairie actually even existed. In terms of job growth, in terms of decreasing crime, in terms of population growth. And it kind of dovetailed with what I was seeing out here, and that's people moving from these major MSAs into middle America, right? That's already happening. And then once we actually flew out and I had a look at the market itself, it reminded me a lot of this market in Sacramento, except maybe 10 years earlier, right? So they're just developing their airport. There's new construction going on. They're putting in a new light rail. There's a bunch of things that are happening, and employers are coming as well. Amazon, Google, Cerner. It checked off all of those boxes. So that's why the market made sense. And then my partner also had 2 other deals there, and I could see the value in it. And then, like I said, once I went to the city, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a beautiful city too. Very rich culturally, which I was really surprised. So the deal, first deal was, it's a historic set of buildings in a place called Roanoke Park in Kansas City. And that deal is called Grocer's Warehouse. It's actually 2 buildings, and there's a long history around that building. But once I saw it, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. It sits in this valley and it's surrounded by this park. It's beautiful. And what it is it's actually a mixed use. It's a mixed use property where you have retail, you have office, and then you have apartments as well. And the gentleman we bought it from is a gentleman named Huff, who is he's an architect and designer. I mean, he's got a huge space in the building still. He actually leased back from us, but he basically took this old dilapidated grocery warehouse and completely revamped it. And like I said, it is beautiful. Inside and out, and super artistic to kind of that industrial nouveau architecture. But anyway, the deal itself, we purchased the deal for a little over $7 million. And then, I mean, if you want, we can actually kind of get into kind of the nuts and bolts of that, or if you want to talk more generally, we can.
I'd love to mention, just make a couple really high-level golden nuggets that I took from it. Mark Twain's quote, "It ain't what you don't know that's going to hurt you. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." To me, that really resonates. Think about it, because you were thinking of Kansas City. You know what? Kansas City. But you have a growth mindset. You had an open mind. You said, let me go take a look at it. Whereas a lot of people would have just poo-pooed it and said, I'm not going to look at it. So exhibiting the growth mindset again and saying, okay, let me look at it. Because most people would have said, you know what? I don't know, I know for sure that Kansas City's not going to work. I'm from Sacramento. I'm from California. I'm from a hip place. What does Kansas City have to offer? But having that growth mindset. And I love the fact that you realize, you know, a real estate market, job growth, all these numbers are important. But if it's hard to get to the market and it takes 5 or 6 hours, I remember you coming off the elevator at that boot camp. And I remember you had the coat on. I remember you looked a little tired. I'm like, he looks like he's been travel weary. So that's important, everybody out there. Don't assume things in life, because you may think for sure that you know something. Dive deeper into it. Make sure that your limiting beliefs and your just assumptions are not going to hold you back, because he could have really lost out on an amazing deal. And the second thing is, look at the area, the city you're going. You need to have that job growth. You need to have the population growth. You need to have at least people moving there. You don't want people leaving, right? Because that's why you're going to pay higher cap rates. And then the last one, I love that word, Silicon Prairie. So people are moving out. So know the market really well and understand the value in it. So I love that. Josh, you want to add anything to that?
No, I say let's dive into the numbers, Travis. Would love for you to kind of cover that in some detail, and let's take a deeper dive.
Sure. Okay. So, so far as financing is concerned, and this is another reason why I really like Kansas City, was the team that we had there, in terms of asset manager, property manager, relationships with local banks. Like, they plugged us. The AMG's phenomenal. They plugged us in with so many other different contacts. And we ultimately ended up developing a relationship with a local bank there. After some negotiation, they initially wanted one of the GPs to be at least a 10%, a local GP, at least 10% ownership, but we were able to negotiate that out. So what ended up happening is we ended up purchasing the property for $7.1 million. We ended up getting the loan was like 5.6. They gave us an 80% LTV. We talked to a bunch of lenders as well, but interest rate was like 4.1, which wasn't. I mean, now it's not great, but then it was decent.
It was good.
We only got a 1-year IO, which I wanted 3, but you know, I think it was a situation where it's a local bank. It's our first deal with them. But they were great too, by the way. Shout out to Cornerstone Bank. They were, you know, those guys over there were really cool. Terms of, it's a 525. We did 3% acquisition. And my partner and I kind of went back and forth with that. But ultimately, for the deal and for the raise, it kind of made sense. But, you know, we're doing a 1% disposition, 1% management. But we're doing a 70-30 split as well. So, you know, we're confident in this property, so much so that, you know, we're willing to kind of, you know, do a little waiting for us to actually, you know, get our chunk, so to speak. So when we're talking about we do a perf, a 9% perf to investors, which was super important to me. I know there's some folks out in the space now that aren't doing perfs, which I think it's I'm going to reserve my comments on that. Some people don't.
What I want to ask you, Travis, you've thrown out a lot of terminology there. Before you joined the academy, would you have been able to do this kind of deal? I mean, before you joined, because like acquisition fee. So out of all that, the syndication aspect, what did you think you took most from the education or from the platform itself? Because you've got IO going on there, you've got relationships with banks, you've got a syndication model, you've got acquisition fees, you've got GP promote. I mean, where was the learning? I mean, how did you pull that all together to do this on this deal? Because that was really quick from when you joined to putting this deal together. Let me know, you know, about that.
It was a combination of things. First things first, I got to give props to the best apartment syndication book. It kind of laid the groundwork for my foray into multifamily. And then from there, the Wheelbarrow Profits and Jake and Gino training kind of plugged in a bunch of those other holes. And so to answer your first question, there's no way I could have, I didn't understand the nuances of even the financing enough to to even be able to make this deal
Mm-hmm.
8 months earlier, 9 months earlier. No way. But it was just through constant study. And the other thing was my partner was, he was really patient as well, right? If I had questions on, portions of the syndication, he would, he'd kind of break it down for me. Like I wasn't even really familiar with how we were going to get the cost seg done. And he already had a relationship through property managers. So we were able to dub that in as well. Hopefully it's done sometime soon. But yeah, so the program itself was pivotal in helping me to get to this point this quickly. No doubt.
Love that.
Boom. Love that. All right, Travis, I got some short answer questions here for you. What's your favorite book and why?
Ooh, favorite book. Okay, I got two, and they're favorite books right now because that my list constantly changes. First one is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. He's retired Navy SEAL, and basically he talks about this whole 40% rule, right? How you have to push past pain to get to your full potential, and that pain could be physical, mental. It doesn't really matter, right? It basically the crux of the book is you are far more than you think you are, and you have far more capacity than you think you have. And he talks about how he flunked out of Buds twice, and it's just a super inspirational book. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I recommend it to everyone. Even if you do the Audible, actually you should do both, because the Audible is phenomenal because he actually reads the book, but then there's a portion of it where there's another guy that interviews him about the chapters in the book. So it's like a podcast on top of the book. It's really good. And then the next one, I've listened to this book like 3 or 4 times. Basically, whenever I'm working on a property, I listen to this book, and that's Raising Private Capital by Matt Fairclough. So one thing I learned through this process was I need to be more comfortable offering opportunities to others. It doesn't necessarily, I was approaching it from the wrong mindset. I was approaching it like I'm asking people for money, but that's not really what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm offering an investment opportunity that I'm willing to invest my money into. So it's, from my perspective, it's got to be pretty damn good. So, but just that, getting out of that mindset that I'm asking someone for something as opposed to I am providing an opportunity for them was huge. So that's why I love that book. And like I said, I've been through it 3 times, and I'll probably go through it 3 more times.
Josh, we have no short answer questions on this show because I've got to add my tidbit in here. So there's no such thing as a short answer question on a Jake and Gino podcast. So for me, I want everyone out there to stop for a second. And that David Goggins book resonates with what Travis said. We are all miracles. I believe in God. God put us on this planet, and we're all unique. We all have unique gifts. We tend to forget that because we tend to get on the media merry-go-round. We tend to hear about negativity. We're all amazing. Go out there, find out what your sole purpose is, find out where your abundance lies, and go towards that. For me, I've been fortunate. I met Josh 2 years ago, and he's been able to help me really build this amazing community. That's where my sole purpose is now, to be out there and to meet amazing people. And I don't want to even say help. I want to improve people's lives. I'm not out there to change people's lives. Travis has got an amazing life. I just want him to improve his life somewhere where he can ultimately go to his sole purpose. So everybody out there, we're all miracles. We're all created to do something wonderful on this planet. And don't forget that, because that's what we're here for. We're not here to make money. We're here really to leave an indelible. For me, it's my family and to the Jake and Gino community and my family with my kids. I'm trying to be a role model. To the open mindset, continue to grow, continue to read out there. And Travis, I remember, last week he posted something in Facebook. It's not what you say, it's how you make them feel. And it's all that's what it comes down to. You want to make people feel really comfortable. You want to give them the knowledge, the advice, and you are ultimately offering them an opportunity that they can't do on their own. They've got their money in the stock market. It's a wild merry-go-round. We both joke offline. I love Tesla. Travis loves Tesla. But at $1,200 a share, wherever it is, I think it's a little overpriced, even though it is a spaceship, even though it's worth more than like the top 7 or 8 car companies combined, right?
Yeah.
Multifamily, hard asset. So Travis is out there offering an opportunity. It's all about your mind and your map and how you represent things in life. 3 years ago, he's like, I'm asking people for money. No, you're not. You're offering them an opportunity that they could not do on their own. And that is something amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boom. That's huge. All right. So I want to sum up some of the nuggets here I got. So one, core values is an operating system. And really when you adopt those in business in life is when you achieve success. And then your network equals your net worth. So again, you got to get out there and it's what you know combined with who you know. And then Gino, what other nuggets do you have to add to this one?
Oh, this is awesome. I got like notes all over the place here. I mean, let's start out with the open mindset. How, you can have a successful career. Travis loves his job. He's just continuing to grow and he wants to take control of his financial future. Everyone listening on this podcast, we are all the 5%ers who are going to retire becoming financially free. Everyone else out there, I think a lot of people out there that are struggling 9 to 5, they're not thinking about their future. Travis loves his job, but he's also taking care of his financial future and he's building another business on the side doing that. I think that's awesome. I love the deal that Travis talked about. I think everyone needs to go back and listen to how Travis selected a market, right? It's important when you're selecting a market, use all the metrics that Travis talked about. I love that Silicon Prairie, just be open. There are a lot of markets in the United States of America that are really starting to boom now. Not everything is bust. So find out where the demographics and the migrations are going to. Josh, the core operating system. I want everyone, when you're done with this, listening to this recording, sit down and ponder for a few minutes what you want your core values to be, what you want to do. You need to live by your core values. And then from creating your core values, you can start creating your goals. You can start creating your objectives because your goals will equal your objectives plus your beliefs. And you have to live by those core values. You can create a multifamily business. You can create a life through core values. Let me look at some other notes here. I think the last one is your net worth is equal to your net worth. Get out there and be uncomfortable. And it doesn't matter if you sound stupid, right? I would like to share this acronym with everybody. It's Ford, not Tesla, it's Ford. And what I mean by Ford is when you're talking to someone and networking with someone, talk to them about the F, their family, the O, their occupation, their R, their recreation, and their D, their dream, all right? That's what you want to do as someone who's out there networking and learning about others, and be genuine. Ask questions. Hey, Travis, how's your family doing? Travis, you love Teslas, right? That's your recreation. Travis, what items do you have on your bucket list? That's how you network with others. It's not telling them about you. It's about getting information from them and remembering it and actually building it out. So everyone, write that down on your vision board. FORD, family, occupation, recreation, dream. And that will help you network. And then when you talk to the person again, you bring it up because to be interesting, you need to be interested in somebody. And the more people you're interested in, the bigger your network will grow.
Absolutely.
Boom. All right. I want to give a huge shout out to Travis. One, for being open-minded, having a growth mindset, and just being willing to get out of his comfort zone. Travis, question for you. How can the listeners get a hold of you?
Sure. You can either get a hold of me on Facebook at Freeman Equity Group. Just do a search for that. Or you can reach me by email at travis@freemanequity, all one word, .com. Or you can just call me on the phone. I'll take your call, 916-538-2216. I'm more than willing to talk to whomever. I'm on Twitter as well, Freeman Equity Group. Before I jump off, I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Mikey T, my coach. Mike's been super patient with me. I would just send him random OMs, and I know now. Initially I didn't understand, but now I understand kind of like the difficulties around just receiving a random OM saying, "What do you think about it?" Right? Because that's pretty much what I would do. So I'm sorry, Mikey. Like I said, he's been super cool. He always gets back to me. I can't say enough about him. And the one quote, and actually I got it from one of the Wheelbarrow Profit videos, was, "Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care." And that is 100% true, As soon as I heard that, I had to post it. So
Wow. Love that.
whomever, I don't know who I stole that from, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful quote.
Let me give you the lineage of that quote. So I have a John Maxwell leadership coach. It's a direct John Maxwell quote. And I think I brought it with me to the Jake and Gino ecosphere. And so I agree with you 100% that it's very important that people know that that you care for them and they know they can trust you. And that's what truly builds team, opportunity, culture, and everything we talked about. So
Travis, repeat that again. Say that quote again for everybody. It's
Nobody
important.
cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Powerful. That's how you lead, and that's how you go into every networking situation. Always seeing how you can provide value, and you will grow your investor list, and you will get that first deal by having that mindset.
Absolutely.
All right. With that, Travis, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest on the show and sharing your movers and shakers story. Now, listen, if you want to be the next movers and shakers guest, email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. And if you like the show, please leave us a review. And until next time, let's make it a movers and shakers week. See ya, everybody.
Thanks, Travis.
Take it easy, guys.